So hi everyone, welcome to the webinar. Today I'm going to be talking to you about digital escape rooms and how you can design and implement your own. My name is Hailey McCullough and I'm the Head of Adult Services at the Grande Prairie Public Library. So before I start talking about digital escape rooms, as Kaylee mentioned, there are some notes in that kind of handout section on the panel there. So feel free to grab those. Don't feel you have to write everything I'm saying down. I tend to talk at Gilmore Girls speed, so it might be a little tricky anyway. So definitely grab those notes. So let's just go ahead and get started here. Maybe. There we go. All right, so to kick things off, I'll talk briefly about GPPL's escape room that I designed. So I created it on Google Forms. It took me about 3 days from start to finish. And I honestly believe that Google Forms is low-tech and user-friendly enough that just about any library staff member can create a digital escape room on it. I kept things fairly simple with our escape room. The premise was for the participant to be escaping from a room in our library, and then the library itself after falling asleep while studying for a test for school. And if anyone would like to check the escape room out after the webinar, please feel free to email me and I can provide you a link and answer any questions you might have. So why did we create a digital escape room? Well, there are a bunch of reasons, and I think it will come as a surprise to no one that the biggest was COVID-19. So I'm sure most people watching this webinar know firsthand that we've had to adjust and modify our programs and services in ways that allowed us to offer them virtually. And I think it's important that we continue providing our programs and services during the pandemic if we're able to do so. So that was the first reason. Our digital escape room was created as a virtual program response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The second reason was that it became quickly apparent, to me at least, that digital escape rooms were going to become a new trend in libraries. So like a lot of you watching, I belong to a number of library professional groups on Facebook. And one post I noticed that got a lot of attention from other librarians and library professionals was this library in the States. They had put together a digital escape room with a Harry Potter theme. If anyone's interested, the library in question was the Peters Township Public Library in McMurray, Pennsylvania. And librarians and other library professionals saw this and just kind of went nuts for it. Like there was so many likes, so many shares, so many comments. So it became really obvious to me that this is going to be a big thing for libraries, especially right now. So the third reason we created a digital escape room was that we had an established history of putting on physical escape rooms in the library. At Grande Prairie Public, we've been doing them for about 2 years now. So it just kind of made sense for us to transition that into a digital world. And I think once the trend of digital escape rooms has caught on, it would even be expected of us because we've already offered a version of it previously. The fourth reason, we believed that the pandemic was going to trigger a very quick shift to increased passive virtual programming. And so what I mean by that is that online programs that don't require live staff time, like a Zoom paint night or a Facebook Live story time would. I'm talking about a mostly static program that anyone can access regardless of the time or day, which kind of leads into my fifth point, a good ROI or return on investment. It took me 3 days to create our digital escape room, but it's done. I don't have to be there every time someone completes the room like you would for a physical escape room. And that's a good return on my 3 days of time invested creating the room. So that's why we did a digital escape room. Now, where do you start? Well, the best place for any library to start if they want to create a digital escape room is to create a Gmail account for your library if you don't already have one. Gmail is a really great, freely available tool for libraries because you can share and work on all kinds of documents simultaneously. I would really recommend creating and using a Gmail account for your library rather than a personal account because it provides continuity if you were to one day leave your organization. Then once you have a Gmail account to access Google Forms, all you need to do is go to docs.google.com. So I have a lot of screenshots and slides that demonstrate the steps you'll want to take to design your digital escape room. But I think it would just be best if I went into a browser and showed you that way. So that's what we're going to do here. So I'm just going to jump out of my PowerPoint and I'm going to go to Microsoft Edge. So as you can see from the address bar at the top here, we're in docs.google.com. This is what it looks like. To get to forms, we want to go to the top left here, the menu here, and then we want to select forms. And that's going to take us to the home page for forms. So as you can see, we have some options here. We can start a blank one, or we can work from a template, which is great if you're doing maybe like a survey or a registration for an event, things like that. For our purposes, we're just going to start with a blank one. So we're going to click that. And this is what a blank Google form will look like when you first open it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this question first. And anytime you want to get rid of something in your form, you just look for a trash can and click it. So now we're left with the title and description box, which I'm going to fill in a second here. And we also have this vertical toolbar, which is where we're going to be doing a lot of the different things we're trying to achieve here. So I'm going to just fill in this first. So I have very low-tech Notepad. I don't know why I love copying and pasting stuff from Notepad. I don't know what it is about it. It's just easy and low-tech. So we're going to just copy our title I have here, which is Can You Escape Your Boredom in This Webinar? And we're going to copy and paste the description I have here into that description box. And the other thing I'll mention about the title is it's a good idea to include it in this field up here. And what that is going to do is it's going to change the title of the tab to match the title of your form. And that's really handy because I don't know about some of you, but like I sometimes have like 12 tabs open at once. So if that's titled for me, I know that that's the escape room or the form I'm working on. I can just easily find it and go back to there. And it'll also be easy for you to find if you have lots of forms in your homepage for the forms. If you're looking for something, you can search by the title and it'll pop up. So that's really useful. So just going back to this title and description box here real quick, there's going to be kind of 3 main goals you want to achieve with your description box. The first is you want to welcome people to your digital escape room. So for here, I've got, welcome to my webinar. The next thing you want to do is you want to offer any tips for them. So for an escape room, that might be something like, oh, it would be a good idea to have a pen and paper nearby, or ask family or friends for help if you need help, that sort of thing. For our purposes, I have, maybe have a pet nearby if you have a pet. Make sure you have lots of coffee and snacks. Snacks are important. And the third goal you want is to plug your library. So just 1 or 2 sentences about maybe some cool stuff your library does, and also a link to your website. And then the fourth thing, which is optional, is that you can include your contact information if you would like feedback or if you want people to email you questions, that sort of thing. So we've got our title and description here. The next thing I'm going to kind of talk about is this vertical toolbar. There's kind of 3 main buttons we're going to be working with today. So there's an add a question button, import questions, title and description, add image, add video, and add section. We're really going to just be focusing on the section adding button, the image adding button, and the question adding button. The importing questions is more so if you are maybe doing like a survey and you do one a couple times a year and you want to include questions from previous surveys. That one you don't really need if you already have just kind of one static title and description. And then the video one you probably don't really need either, unless you want to add videos to your escape room and have people look for certain things in a video. So those are our buttons. That's the toolbar. And I think the next thing we want to do here is start kind of building. So let's try adding a couple of sections and an image. So we'll go to add section here. And the way a section works is it's kind of like a story box. So this is where you want to kind of use your story. And for a frame of reference, I think a digital escape room should probably be about 70% story and maybe 30% puzzle. So the sections is going to be where you put your story stuff. So we're just going to go back into my notepad file here, and we're going to grab a title for our section, which is really useful. Try to make sure you title your sections in case you have to rearrange things later. It's very handy. So we've got our title and description here for our first section. So, you're watching a webinar, you have your snacks, your vat of coffee, and your trusty furry sidekick, when you hear your door's locking mechanism click shut. Oh no, you're trapped. So we're just gonna go ahead and add in their section. And just for the length of sections, like you can do as many or as few as you want. As far as the text inside goes, I would try to keep it to 1 paragraph max. I don't want to overwhelm anyone with an amount of text in it. So I think that if you're going to do sections, try not to do more than 1 paragraph per section, and try to break it up every now and then too. I would try to do maybe 1 image for every 2 sections, if not more than that. So we're going to go ahead and do our next section here. And we're going to call this one our first clue. Paste that description in. And so this one, you know, suddenly an envelope is slid under the door. This must be a clue to help you get out of the room. So as I mentioned before, we have our 2 sections, so we probably want to add an image. And to do that, we just go back to our toolbar, and we're going to go to the Add Image button. We're going to go to our computer and upload one. And we're just going to do this one here. So with images, I really find that stock photography works best because it adds a bit of a professional gloss to the digital escape room. And it's really easy to just type a word into the search and find what you're looking for that way. We use iStock, but there's lots of different sites with varying costs. You can use freely available sources too, like Unsplash. Just try to make sure you're not breaking copyrights. And so there's our image. So let's give it a title just so we always have context. So we're going to just call this one, oh, not that, Mysterious Envelope. All right, so far so good. We got our 2 sections here and our image. And so I think it's time to do a question. And so if we think of sections as story boxes, think of your questions as the puzzle part of the escape room. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our vertical toolbar. We're going to do Add Question. And we have some options here. So I find the best questions that work well with escape rooms are multiple choice or short answer. Now, Google Forms has a lot of different options available to you, and you can certainly explore other ones, but those are kind of the main 2 that I work from when I'm building an escape room. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot when you only use 2, but my hope is that if you're creative enough with your story and your puzzles, that no one will really notice you're only using 2 types of questions. So let's go ahead and try a multiple choice question / puzzle. We'll select that one, and let's have our question be, is this webinar fun? So now we have to do some options here. Oh, this thing. So Google will try to be helpful sometimes and will try to pick up on what you're doing and offer suggestions. So based on the type of question I asked, it's thinking like, oh, do you want to do a linear scale question? Which, like, that's nice of you, Google, but no. We want multiple choice. So we're just going to go back to our box and select that question. And now we're going to come up with our options. So we're going to have, I like to do 4 multiple choice. I just find that's a nice even round number. People are used to having 4 options for multiple choice. So we're going to say yes. We're going to have no. We're going to have not really. And we're going to have meh. And so the next thing we want to do with our question is customize some of the features in it. So down here, you'll notice a little slider. We're going to turn that on and make this a required question. And what that does is it won't let them proceed further in the form or the escape room without answering this question. And then we're going to go into this little 3-dot menu here. And we're going to select to have it go to the section based on answer. So what this is going to do is it's going to take them to a specific section based on how they answer the question. And because we have 1 right answer and 3 wrong answers, we have to create 2 sections now. We have to do one that leads them to a page that says, you know, sorry, that's incorrect. And we have to have one that leads them to a page that's the next step of the digital escape room. So what we're going to do then is go back to our vertical toolbar. We're going to add another section here. And we're going to have a section for the incorrect answer. So I'm going to just title this Try Again. And then for the description, we're just going to go, sorry, that's incorrect. Please try again. We're going to go back to our toolbar. We're going to add another section, and we're going to call this one, you got it, because they got the answer right. So we're going to just say, you know, that was the correct answer. And then maybe something happens as a result of them getting the answer correct, which is kind of how an escape room works. You get an answer correct, another piece of the puzzle unlocks, or another clue appears, something like that. So now we have to go back to our multiple choice question, and we have to assign the sections to the answers. So our answer to the question, is this webinar fun, is yes, of course it's fun. It's about making a digital escape room. It's the most fun webinar there is. So we're going to have that go to the you got it section. And then for all these wrong answers, because the webinar is fun, we're going to have it go to the try again section. So we're just going to do that for all 3 of those wrong answers. And there's kind of one more step involved with the multiple choice question, and that involves the incorrect section here. So when someone gets to this section, they're going to have the option to either go ahead to the next step of the digital escape room without having to go back to answer the question correctly. And I don't like that. I guess I'm kind of a digital escape room purist. I think they should have to get the answer right to be able to move on. So in order to turn that off, we just go under that section. See here where it says after section 4, continue to the next section. We're just going to click that and have it say after section 4, go to section 3. It's gonna take them back to this page here with this question. And this might be kind of confusing as I'm explaining it, so what I'm going to do is show you what this looks like right now. And anytime you want to see how your digital escape room is looking to someone who would be trying it, to a member of the public, you just go to this little eyeball icon up here. It's the preview button. So we're going to click that. It's going to open a new tab for us. And this is what it looks like so far. So we have our title, our description. We're going to click next here. We have our first section. And then we have our second section, our image, and our question. So let's get this answer wrong. We're going to say this webinar is meh, and then we're going to hit next. And it takes us to this sorry, that's incorrect section here. Now, if I hit next now, it's going to take me back and make me answer it correctly. So if I say yes this time, it's taken me to the correct step in the next step in the digital escape room process. So I'm just going to go and close this now. And so that's how the multiple choice questions work. There is a little bit of extra work involved where you have to create those additional sections and then assign the questions to the right section like we just did. But once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. So let's go ahead and do another puzzle, this time with a short answer question. So I'm just going to go to that toolbar again. I'm going to do add question. And this time I'm going to go to that drop down menu and I'm going to select the short answer question. So there's kind of 2 types of short answer questions we can do. We can do an alphabetic short answer question where they have to answer with text, or we can do a numeric one. And I'm going to show you both because they are just slightly different, but I'm going to start with a text one. So let's start with a really easy question here. Let's do, what day is it? So we've got our question. Now we have to go and do some of those options in the question box like we did before. So we're going to want to turn that little slider on, make it a required question. We're going to want to go to our 3-dot menu, and we're going to want to turn on something called response validation. And so what this is going to do is it's going to have them type an answer in, and it has to be the correct answer. So for us, we're going to make sure this is text because we're doing that one first instead of number. And our answer is going to go in the text box. So the correct answer is Thursday. That's the day today. And then this is where we're going to type in the custom error text, and that's the message they're going to see if they get this question wrong. So I usually just type in something like, sorry, that's incorrect. And then the other thing you can do with a custom error text is if your question is really challenging, you can give them a hint. This question isn't particularly challenging, but let's just pretend it is, and we'll just throw in a hint there. We'll just say starts with T. That really gives them only 2 options. And the other thing you have to remember with short answer questions, specifically the text ones, is that capitals and punctuation matter. And so what I do to make sure people are kind of aware of that when they answer is I like to go back to the question field, and in brackets I'll put capitals matter, just like that, just so they know they have to have that capital T or capital whatever when they type their answer in. And that's pretty much it for the short answer with text. Let's go ahead and do one that's numeric. So we're just going to go back to our toolbar. We're going to do add a question again. We're going to go short answer. And this time we'll type in a question like, how many bottles of beer are on the wall? And so Google is trying to help us again here. They think, you know, okay, last question they had, that was short answer. They want a response validation turned on. They've turned it on for us. We're going to make it a required question again. And then we have the number field here. That's good. Now, this is where it gets a little confusing and it's different from the text one. So we want to have it set to equal to. And then we're going to type in our answer here. And what this is going to do is it's going to do basically what the text question did and have it be 99 exactly. You can't have 98 bottles of beer on the wall. You can't have 100 bottles of beer on the wall. It has to be 99. And then we're just going to type in our custom error text again. Sorry, that's incorrect. And that question is done. So those are basically, I guess, the two to three types of questions I use in digital escape rooms. As I said, you're welcome to explore these other ones that are here. Definitely play around with Google Forms. I'm still pretty new to it, so I haven't discovered everything, but this is what I have found that works for my purposes. The next thing I'm going to talk about in the form is customization options. So there are some really great customization options within the Google Forms that will allow you to do some interesting touches that can add a nice polished look to your digital escape room. So at the top of the form, you might notice this little paint palette icon. We're going to click that, and that's going to give us some different options here. So we can have a header, we can change the theme color, background color, and the font. So we're just going to play around with these real quick. So I'm just going to go choose an image in the header. And Google has very nicely provided some really lovely stock photographs for us. Or you can upload your own, which is great because that also gives you an opportunity to do some branding for your library or upload, you know, custom image from your library, that sort of thing. We'll just go with a stock photograph for now, and I think the book one's very appropriate for us, so let's just click that one, and we'll do insert, and wait for that to appear. And now if we go to the top, we've got this lovely book heart image here at the top. And so what it does is when you upload a header, it tries to pull colors from the header to kind of impact your theme. And so here we have new theme colors. I don't really like them. I'm going to go to this little plus sign here and add a custom color. I really like purple, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that and click add. And now we have a nice purple background again. And then we could also change that a little bit. So I like this one, so I'm going to leave it there, I think. And then if we would like, we can change the fonts. What the font one does is it only changes the font of the titles in the sections. So I'll just show you real quick here. We've got decorative, we've got formal, we've got playful. I do kind of like the playful one, but I just like leaving it on basic mainly just because I kind of worry if someone's doing it from a phone or a tablet, like if it's going to look wonky for them. So I just leave it on basic, but you do have those options there. The next thing I'm going to discuss real quick here is the sharing of the form. So once you have your form ready to go, you just want to go to the purple send button at the top, and you have some options here as well. You can share directly to Facebook or Twitter. You can send it via email to someone, or you can do what I like to do, which is share a link. And you just want to click on that little paperclip icon, and this will take you to the link you can share. And then I always recommend ticking off this little shortened URL box, and that's going to give you a much shorter link, which is really great if you're doing something like a Twitter post where you're limited to a certain number of characters and you're trying to cut down on the number of characters. So this will help with that. So we have our link copied now and it's ready to be shared with the world. The next thing I'm going to talk about is data collection. So first of all, Google Forms is really great because librarians love data, kind of obsessed with it. And they really deliver on this front. They make it really easy for us to collect and analyze data. But maybe you're wondering, like, why do we want that data? Well, if you collect things like names and contact information, then it's really useful for drawing for prizes or adding people to your mailing list. And you can always remove those questions later on without it affecting the rest of your form, which is super handy. So how do you ask for information like someone's name and email address? It's actually pretty simple because we kind of already did it. So we're going to want to go back to the bottom here. And we're going to use our toolbar just to add another question. So add question. And then we're going to do another short answer question. And we're just going to type in, what is your name? And that's all, that's it. That's all you really have to do. You just have to do a short answer question for each piece of information you're collecting. So if we want email address, we're just going to add another question here. We're going to make it be short answer. And we're just going to type in, what is your email address? So two kind of things about collecting information like that. I kind of have two tips, and that's, two things. So yeah, the first is that you should tell people why you're collecting their information. So if you're doing a draw or looking to build your mailing list, let them know that. The second thing is that I think they should have a choice about whether or not they provide their information. So I really recommend not making these questions required. So just leave that slider off on both of them. If they want to provide their information to you, they'll do it. So let's just leave it at that. And then let's talk a little bit about data analysis. So right now we don't have any data to analyze because no one has filled out our form. So let's go ahead and remedy that. So we're going to open a new tab. We're going to paste in that link. And we're just going to really quickly fill out our form here. Maybe. Okay, there we go. So next. Yes, this webinar is fun. That's the correct answer. And then we're going to answer our questions here. So it's Thursday. There's 99 bottles of beer on the wall. My name is Hailey, and we're just going to say no to the email address. And then we're going to submit. And then we have your response has been recorded. So now if we jump back to our back end of the form, you'll see at the top here, our questions tab and our responses tab, we have a response. So we'll just click into that. And these are kind of our options for analyzing our data. We have a summary we can view. We have it so that we can view by question. And we have it so that we can view kind of the form as the person who answers. So we can scroll down and see exactly how it looked to them. My favorite way of analyzing the data is using this handy little spreadsheet icon in the corner here. If we click that, it's going to make a new spreadsheet for us. So we'll just follow this prompt. And what we're going to do is let us do that. And this is what it'll look like if you have a spreadsheet that showcases your data. So I really like these because it includes a date and time stamp from when they filled it out, which is super handy if you're doing a draw or a contest and it's on a specific time frame. And then you can see here that they have each section or each question broken down into different columns, including the information here, like what is your name and what is your email address. So I really like that about Google Forms, the fact that you can see that data and analyze it in a spreadsheet. And there's lots of different ways you can sort that data. I'm not going to talk about that because I tend to break spreadsheets, so we're going to leave that part alone. But the other nice thing about this is that you can choose to share the responses with someone just by clicking this green button in the corner here. So right now, you can add someone via email to it, or you can send them a link, but it defaults to restricted. So only people added can get the link, but if we click into that, we can go to anyone with the link. and anyone on the internet with this link can view. You can change it so that they can either comment or edit. I would really recommend leaving on view if you happen to have a Hailey on your team who tends to break spreadsheets. That's probably the best option. Because I have broken these before just by typing something manually into one. So I would probably recommend that you don't type anything manually into the spreadsheet because you might run the risk of breaking it. Okay, so where are we now? I think we're almost done here. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for the actual form design, data collection, data analysis, and the form customization. So I'm just going to jump back into my slideshow here and, oh, no, not this slide actually. We're at the end almost now, I believe. So this one here, there we go. So just kind of some parting tips for you. Please be mindful of copyright when you do an escape room. That Harry Potter escape room I mentioned at the beginning was up and running for I think 2 days before they posted a notice saying that Warner Brothers had contacted them and asked them to remove the digital escape room once the pandemic was over. That notice is no longer there. I'm thinking possibly due to J.K. Rowling chiming in on copyright shortly after it was issued, but it's an important thing to be aware of. And the second tip I have for you is that you may become the local expert on digital escape rooms and be contacted by organizations or schools who might want to pass along their compliments, but also request your help. So just for context, I had a teacher contact me and ask me to help one of her 6th grade students build an escape room for their class. And I just kind of wrote back and said, you know, I really appreciate that you enjoyed the escape room so much. I'm not going to be able to do that because of time constraints on my end, but here are some notes to help you. So by all means, absolutely help others with designing digital escape rooms, but don't do it for them because your time is valuable too. And in terms of resources, now that you kind of know the nuts and bolts of making a digital escape room, you might be thinking about the puzzles it contains and how to come up with those. And my advice to you is to check out other digital escape rooms. There's a link to a Google Doc right on this slide here that goes to a list of compiled digital escape rooms, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of them from libraries and organizations and just ordinary people all over North America. So they probably have some great puzzles in there that you can maybe use as inspiration. Also, take a look at escape room games and apps. I'm really fond of the Nancy Drew PC games. I'm not sure if anyone else has played them, but they're really great educational mysteries, just chock full of puzzles. Even if you just search the App Store on your smartphone for escape rooms, you'll get all kinds of escape room games with different puzzles on them that you might be able to adapt as well. Also, your coworkers, your friends, your family, they'll all make really great beta testers for you before you roll your digital escape room out into the public. And they'll catch any typos and issues before it kind of opens up to everyone. So I always recommend doing just a couple days of testing, preferably on a few different devices, just to make sure everything's kind of smooth sailing once you do launch it. And I'm a resource. So, you know, feel free to reach out to me if you have questions or if you would like someone to do a run through of your digital escape room. I'm happy to, oh, Kaylee has already provided this, that's old. So yeah, if you want to use those notes and if you have more questions, by all means, contact me and I can help. So I think that's everything. Does anyone have any questions?
That was fantastic, Hailey. Thank you. We do have some questions that came in.
Oh, great.
The first one is, does anyone know if the Microsoft version of this works as well as Google Forms? Their library already has the full Microsoft 365 with the collaborative OneDrive functions.
Oh, that's a good question. I haven't actually seen one that uses anything other than Google Forms so far. Like, I'm not sure. I can definitely look into it. And if that person wants to contact me directly, I can see if I can find anything out about that and get back to them on it.
Okay. Yeah, I know I've seen one that used OneNote, but I've never used OneNote myself. So that's as far as that knowledge goes.
Yeah, same.
Someone else is asking, would it be possible to do a choose your own adventure type story They say, yes, it would be elaborate, but would it be possible?
I think it would. Yeah, absolutely. You would just have to, I guess, be really good at kind of maintaining and keeping track of that sort of tree that builds that comes with those choose your own adventures. I think it definitely would be possible though, because you're just creating sections and looping back to other sections based on questions and answers. So I think it's doable for sure.
Yeah, that sounds kind of interesting, actually.
Yeah, it does. They've given me an idea now.
Next question is, when someone fills in a short answer, does the answer have to be correct before they move on to the next section?
It does if you turn on the response validation. I think it should definitely have to be a correct answer. Otherwise, they could just kind of type anything in and move on, and it sort of defeats the purpose of the short answer question in my mind. But maybe if it's for a younger audience, you might want to make it a little bit easier for them and have that response validation turned off.
Someone is asking if you're okay if they share the PDF attachments with other libraries.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Someone is saying, we have purchased escape room kits. Have you used something like that and just adapted it to a digital form? And would there be any copyright issues with that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. Like, I guess it depends on the, oh, I haven't thought of that one. Yeah, I feel like that might be a copyright issue now that I'm kind of thinking about it, because it's not your creation. So, like, sure, you purchased it for that purpose, but I don't know that you could adapt it for a different purpose if it's not your characters and your story. That makes sense.
Right. I'm wondering if it could be similar to like they're suggesting with online readings and things where you could reach out to the publisher or in this case the game manufacturer.
Yeah, that's a really great idea. Maybe try reaching out to the publisher or the author and seeing if you can get permission to do that. That's definitely a good idea, just so you're not violating copyright.
Awesome. Are there any other questions out there? Please feel free to use that question chat box. Oh, here's one. If the response validation is on for short answer and they get the question wrong, does it keep them on the same section or do they have to go back to correct it?
No, it keeps them on the same section. I'll show you real quick here. Jump out of here. That's actually great. That doesn't take you back all the way to the beginning. So let's just go back and go to our form here. So we'll just go and skip ahead to a short answer. So here's one here. So let's say I typed in Wednesday. What it's going to do is give us that, sorry, that's incorrect. Here's your hints. And then all we have to do is type in the correct answer, and it'll let us, I guess, it'll let us move on anyway, but it won't let us go on to the next section without getting that question correct.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I don't see anything else coming in. So I think we're good to wrap up. Thank you so much, Hailey. That was fabulous.
Oh, well, thank you for letting me present on it, and thanks to everyone who watched. I hope I see some digital escape rooms popping up from libraries in Alberta soon. And yeah, absolutely contact me if you have any questions. That's my email address there. It's just hmccullough@gppl.ca. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing some digital escape rooms. Yeah, thanks. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.